Hello and welcome to the Veloccino Cycling Podcast, where the best stories have not yet been written. Today, where are we today, Gemma?
We're in Chesham.
In Chesham?
Or is it meant to be a secret location?
No, it's not a secret location. First of all, great to have you back.
Thank you. Nice to be back as well. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, the first, or the last couple of episodes we have actually recorded, just me with a guest, and Gemma is back. Yes. Mike will also be back at some point.
I think
guess.
so.
It's
yes,
just,
he will. Yeah.
Just currently, life is really busy, and we just.
I have a story about that actually. I saw him in the woods, and sounds dodgy already. He was walking the dog, and I was on the bike, and I was cycling up. It's always up in Wendover, and I saw him, and I was like, "Oh, he's warmer than I thought." And he was like,
"Warmer."
It's warmer.
Oh,
it's warmer.
He's warmer.
No, it's warmer than I thought. And he came up with the classic line of, "Would you like to take your top off?" And I was like, but I don't have anything on underneath here.
I'm naked already.
And he was like, "Okay, yeah, scrap that. Don't worry about it."
Smooth, Mike.
Or was there something like, Would you like to give me your top?" And I was like, not really, Mike.
No, leave me alone.
And I was like, "Anyways, see you later."
So, at
He's
some
around.
point when he comes out of the woods,
Yeah, he's around.
then he will be recording with us again.
Yes.
At the minute, everything is busy, which is good. And we try to crank up the frequency of recording, so it doesn't work with the life of everyone. So I hope you as listeners, you will appreciate it, because that means we will have more content, but we basically mix it between us, and sometimes it's Gemma, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Mike, sometimes it's all us together, or sometimes it's
No one.
Exactly, like last week and the week before. But today we are with our friend Mark Harris.
Hey everyone.
I don't know, if he needs much introduction to many of our local friends, but I know for a fact that we also have some friends outside of Buckinghamshire. So Mark Harris runs Cychemistry in Chesham, which is a very new. What is it? Is it a bike shop?
Not a bike shop as a traditional bike shop. It's more of a custom build specialist workshop, so normal servicing, that kind of stuff. Just non-retail, although I do spares and things like that. And also a little bit of snowboard and ski servicing, so yeah, for the winter.
We say, "Ooh," of interest to us. Do you do any snowboarding?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I started skiing when I was 2.
Oh, you can ski?
Yeah, and snowboarding.
I can ski, I can't snowboard.
That's okay.
Not very well. Anyway.
Milton Keynes, or
No, just...
snow.
Oh, Hemel.
Hemel. Is there a snow down?
Yeah. It's a newish one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway. So, the reason why we have Mark here, we had a couple of conversations of who should we get onto the show, and who should we speak to, obviously, and we just figured out that Mark is actually a link between a lot of things that we do, and I was trying to find an example. If because of my body composition and stuff, if I would be a block of butter, you would be the hot needle.
Nice.
Going through this butter. It sounds weird, but no. How can how different?
I wouldn't have said it like that, but I quite... do you mean he's the thread that runs through all of us?
Yeah,
you mean that,
so
don't you? You said butter and hot needles. But anyway, it's more common.
It's a German saying.
It's not, is it?
No, it's not. No, but anyhow, so I remember back then when I moved to England and Hannah and I was cycling, and then at some point, I think it was Charlie Verinda, of our dear friend Flo, who basically asked if Hannah wanted to ride in a team time trial back then from the Cock.
Yeah, that was the first one, wasn't it?
It was the first one.
Yeah.
And so you were the man at Lovelo at the time.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, Hannah, Charlotte, Melinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No runs VSD, and also previously Lovelo Squadron. And
Bethany.
Was it Bethany?
Yeah, it was Bethany.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, I'm going to see her on Saturday.
Oh, cool.
We go to this Anna Henderson talk, and I think before we go to dinner somewhere. Anyhow, so this was the very first time actually I got in touch with Lovelo, and Hannah got in touch with you. And
yeah, that's right. First time we met, I think.
That was really early on. So
yeah, it was just after we opened, so it must have been end of 2013-ish, I think.
So because
so summer of 2013, I think.
That's where you started, right? Like, well, you are in the bike industry for such a long time, but Lovello was one of the babies where you...
Yeah, Lovello was my first half ownership. Yeah. So, it was my own thing, which was great, down to the logo design, everything. So that was quite a new one for me. So that was my first proper sort of foray into it, after working for other bike shops in the area. It was quite an exciting time and kind of threw myself in, not really, I knew what I was doing, but, when it's your own thing, it's always a bit scary. Yeah. So,
and that was for those that don't know, that's in Berkhamsted and Lovello is still around.
Yeah.
There's so many stories and so many things. You also had like your first experience with Mark at some point in
Lovello, I think. I can't remember the first time I met you. It must have been but in Lovello for sure.
I think you got drafted in, didn't you, after some races?
Yeah, so we probably all know how I started. I think I just got pulled in and it wasn't actually that amazing. But whenever you go and see, I was saying this to Niels on the way here, whenever you go and see Mark, you just inspire people, and
really?
I just thought, oh my God, I want to do this. Like at the time you were running Lovello and kind of it felt like you were looking after the women's team, which was really unusual to have maybe a guy doing that. Maybe not so much actually, but have a guy inspiring and supporting us, and it felt like super genuine. It made me think, oh my God, I really want to do this. And whenever I then saw you afterwards, and still to this day, that's what it feels like. You feel like the most supportive, knowledgeable, just everything. And I never felt like, oh, you're just coming in the shop and you don't, you're just starting out and you don't know what you're talking about and this. I just felt, I can't describe it. Maybe some listeners who know you will feel that as well.
I think the social aspect is, one of the most important things about having your own shop, because without the social atmosphere and stuff and having people come in and, just to hang around, just chill around, just because they want to be there, I think that's really nice, because you're doing something right. You don't want it to be a them and us thing. That's one of the worst mistakes that most shops make. They just want to take your money and that's it. They don't have any rapport with their customers or their riders, which is a shame.
I just because of the relationship we have, I would love to say something else. I would just say like, no, I was annoyed with him.
I know, it just doesn't happen.
No, but I can equally echo this, and I've been in my life to many bike shops before, and also just to make this clear, this is not like a sponsored episode or like.
No, I wish I had the money to sponsor it.
It's just like genuinely about the story of Mark and how we met him and how we ended up with Cychemistry actually. And I remember, like, for me, when I go to bike shops, a lot of them are much better now. But back in the days, I feel like back in the days, it's like 10 years ago. I say often because I was not super knowledgeable. And often I didn't feel 100% comfortable because I just felt, okay, they just try to sell me something. About like, I remember with us, it was more like, hey, we are buddies. And I really liked that. And and then I think Lovello went on and moved on and got bigger and bigger. And the team, the women's team at that time, Lovello Squadron, got bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it grew massively, didn't it?
I remember back at the time, maybe many listeners don't know, but Anna Henderson, as an example, I think it was the first team where she actually raced for.
That's right, yeah. So, we took her on after she was rehabbing from skiing and trying to get stronger. And I mean, what a talent she is, like, what a find. So
it's just a lot of shared past and a lot of really fantastic stories, and I think nobody ever wants to claim any of her success. However, I think it's undoubtedly like also testament to your at least she got her first.
Yeah, I mean she was a great ambassador for us, like, because we didn't know how she was going to blow up like she has, and we're just happy to sort of give her that little push into racing, and she's found something that she excels at super well, I mean she does that with pretty much everything anyway, doesn't she? So
Same colour scheme, by the way, also black and yellow.
yeah, similar with a bit of teal in there. Yeah.
And so Mark, how did you get into cycling? Like, where did it all start?
Cycling was I actually didn't like it at all as a kid and stuff. I rode it took me a long time to actually sort of just get into riding bikes, and we used to ride around the block and stuff, things like that as a kid, but it wasn't a natural thing for me at all. I wanted to be a footballer like a lot of kids and play football, and that's what I went to do, and a bit of a nasty sort of accident playing football, damaged my ankles pretty badly, and had to ride a bike for recuperation and stuff. And I kind of rode a bike. My best friend, he was starting to race and stuff, and I didn't, I thought it was just riding bikes and lycra. That's not for me, but he was like, no, it's really cool. You should come along and watch some of the racing and stuff, and maybe do one and stuff like that. And from that, it was that's kind of how I fell in love with bikes. I actually realised it was really good and really decent.
How old were you?
14, like that. Yeah. So from going to like riding my bike in like normal trainers and football shorts and stuff, and then really getting into it and stuff like that, and then doing a few races and stuff, and it just sort of captured me really. And the football was I still love football now, but can't play like I used to, and bikes sort of took over that, and I've been stuck with them ever since. So
that's amazing. Also, like Quack Rose and you, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're younger and a teenager, you're like, no, I'm not wearing that.
Yeah, that was it. I didn't want to wear that at all. The lycra still stays off a little bit, but
Did I ever tell you the story? Well, I never became a footballer, by the way.
No. You were too busy canoeing.
No, so when I was 5 years old, and this is like how weird Germany is sometimes. So when I was 5 years old or 6, some of my friends played football, so I went to the local football club, and I was allowed to go up to test, to a trial. I was 5.
Cool.
Right? Or 6.
Yeah, 5.
So I went there, played, and the coach was like, no, he doesn't have any talent.
Said that, just like that.
5.
So I was at home like, Daddy, I'm not having any talent. And my wife was like, what? Okay, no, you become a swimmer or something.
That's
the German way. It's just stern, straight down the line.
Told you at 5.
Yeah, so no talent for anything with balls. Well, anyway, this is a different story.
Yeah.
Cut that bit.
It's liking cycling, but then making this your business is a different thing.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, it's you start out because it's your passion and your hobby as well, and then you think going to open up your own bike shop would be the next step. So you go and do it, and it's a lot harder than people think, and also it encroaches onto your time actually riding your own bike. So you don't actually ride as much as you want to. So that kind of takes a back seat, and then before you know it, you're a bit unfit and just working to try and make it work, and you become almost a non-cyclist, and just pushing other people forward to to do what you wanted to do. So it kind of it's not the easiest thing from that point of view, but then once you get a little bit older, you realise that actually you need to get out on your bike.
I think
Comes from
it might have even been you that told me this in the past. Actually, I think it was you in Hillingdon at some point. I think we were watching the women's racing, and you said like, that's the way it is. You love cycling so much that you think you want to work in cycling, and then you realise you don't have any time left.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly it.
So.
I mean, some of the younger kids now, that when you've got no other commitments, if you've not got family or anything else, and you're working in bikes, it's great. You work in bikes, you can ride your bike and so on. But as soon as you start to be an adult, then that's when it changes. So you lose all that time.
Crazy, yeah. Anyways, we were grateful that you are in the cycling industry. And then, so you did I don't know, how did it work? Like, you did some kind of, how do we get into this? Like, a lot of our listeners are also pretty young. So they might want to know, like, how do you actually get into that? bike industry? Where do you start? Like how, if I say like, I want to own my bike shop at some point in my life, where would I start?
Basically build up, make sure you support your local bike shop because that's the most important thing. See if you can do some work experience there, maybe a Saturday job, that kind of stuff. Just ride with local people. Those local people become your customers. So if you've got a good rapport, with them, they're going to want to come and see you at your shop. So, and if you are seen to be bringing customers in as a Saturday lad or whatever, then that's more important than actually how many bikes you sell. If you're bringing customers in, then that's all good. Just be super friendly. Just make sure that your passion for bikes really comes through. Read up on them. It's just kind of like school. You have to do your homework. Make sure you know about most types of bikes, and really, really enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, there's no point. You've got to enjoy it because it's not the best paid job in the world being in cycles, but if you love it, then that comes second.
And should you know how to fix bikes before, or do you learn how to fix bikes on the go?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there's qualifications out there now. Proper decent qualifications. Cytec being one of the biggest ones, and you can go to college and do that, and that helps. So most bicycle shops would like to have Cytec Level 2 as your main, as your base, and you learn on the job. When I started, there wasn't any qualification, so it was you learn while you were there, and that was it. Now it's a lot easier to get those qualifications. Doesn't necessarily make you a good mechanic, but it definitely helps having the knowledge of a way around a bike. So.
I think when it comes to mechanicals and mechanical knowledge, I'm no. It's always something.
I can give you an example. We were at King's Cup. Actually, it's not an example of Neil's expertise one way or another, but maybe just a view into Neil's life.
Do you think?
We're at King's Cup.
This is where we broke your hip? Oh no, that was
that was another story. This is just recent, the King's Cup, and we're all ready racing. Neil's racing as well. Ready to go, and walk over to Neil's, and I can see Harry with a spanner in one hand, Millie with a screwdriver heading towards the tyre, and Neil's
that's my kids under 3.
Neil's saying, "Oh, I just need to fix this thing on my bike," and I was like, "Neil's, but we're racing
starting,
quite soon." And he's like, "I just need to," and the dog was miles away over there, and Hannah's trying to curtail everybody in, and that's.
I got told off for that. So basically,
I don't know what you were doing. What were you doing?
I think we were on holidays before, and I came back and then went to the King's Cup, which was like the national gravel championship. And for some stupid reason, I entered the race category for. Honestly, I don't know what's going on in my mind. When you sign up for a race, you always think you're better than you actually are.
That happens, yeah.
And I just arrived and my gears didn't work at all. They wouldn't go up, they wouldn't go down. And I'm like, holy shit. And then I was like, what am I going to do now? So I changed the cassette. I just had another cassette in my reader.
Just for any reason.
He thinks, right, this may happen. I may have to put another cassette on, whether I don't even think that. So I changed that
cassette, and I was like, so I annoyed because she was like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, I just changed the cassette quickly.
Harry's like,
yeah. And then but it actually was my gear cable was corroded.
All right.
So it was stuck in there. So actually. I was just wasting all this time.
But you had a shiny cassette.
It's a beautiful cassette.
Yeah, it's fine.
But then I raced, started 6 kilometers in.
Oh no!
That was Millie.
Yeah, with the screwdriver. Yeah.
That was shit. Anyway. I think I'm not racing again.
That was one of the things that brings us on to what I loved. I'm sorry, going back to harping on about when I used to come and see you. One of the good things was whenever I had an important race or an event or something, I'd always be like, we'll take my bike.
Yeah, just make sure it's all good.
and he's going to check it, and I can then just go out of that shop and be super confident that that bike is going to work in the way I know it's not quite right. It doesn't feel. I just say it doesn't feel right. Can you sort this out? And that's just such a lovely thing about a good bike shop or mechanic, that you have that rapport with them. That okay, hopefully you won't land it on them last minute, because I'm sure that's not ideal.
Some of the girls did that.
Some of the girls. But
when are you racing tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
but most of the time, a bit of pre-warn. Oh, I've got a big race next weekend. Can we make sure it's all good to go? And there was always just this confidence of like, of course, that we'll get it right. I think that was, I love it.
I think this confidence level is so important, especially when you race. It's like, I'm not a good racer, but still confidence plays a role, right? If I'm confident at the start line, I will perform okay, whatever that means, right? So I just know if I fix my bike for myself, with all the knowledge or the half wisdom that I have, the confidence level won't be there. But if you go to like a local bike shop and let it get fixed, you know you will be okay.
Yeah, hopefully it'll all be ready to go, and you're confident in that, in that bike that it's going to perform as it should. That said, I'm probably the worst for my own bike for doing that.
It's fine, it's your own bike. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I build it the night before we're going away and then chuck it in the suitcase and off we go. So, and I'm like, it should be all right.
But as long as it's your own bike.
Yeah, exactly.
And you luckily you always have a mechanic with you.
Yeah, always a mechanic with me. Yeah, never off the clock.
That's so good. So, going all the way back. So low by low, that's where you started. No, that's not where you started.
Well, so I started my own personal. Yeah.
So how did this come to your mind back then? Like, were you like, I just do my own business? Or was it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, kind of fed up working for people and kind of not wanting to. You mean Cychemistry rather than the velo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just. I didn't want to. The retail side of bikes has kind of changed quite a lot. That'd be the pigeons.
I think somebody's breaking in.
Yeah, it's the pigeons.
So you might hear this bit of noise. There's like a little roof, and there's like pigeons on it. And they
pigeons
try to annoy us. So.
Are they in the?
No, they're not in there. They're sitting on the outside, and they can hear people where they don't normally hear people this time of night, and they're just like, "Yeah, you're disturbing my sleep."
It's making a podcast, a pigeon cast.
Probably, yeah.
Sorry.
Basically, I just didn't want to be in that sort of retail environment where selling a product. I was selling a product because that's what we sold.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't. I mean, yes, that's business, but it wasn't an honest thing. And that's how people work. That's how retail works everywhere. You go into Fat Face, you buy their clothes because it's Fat Face, and that's what they've got. But you're going into bikes. There's so many big brands out there that changing standards and everything else, and people buying into that, and that's fine. But with what I'm doing here, where I don't actually sell bikes, but I can help people find the correct bike for them without going, right, we sell Specialized, this is what you need, or we sell Trek, this is what you need. I can just be more honest and just help people get exactly the bike that they want, that fits them, and that suits their type of riding. There's so many people out there that, they might have the money to buy a £6,000, £7,000, £8,000 Pinarello because Team Sky ride them, but they don't need that because it's uncomfortable for them because they're not used to riding in that racy position, that kind of stuff. So hopefully we're doing what I'm doing here will just be a more honest approach to helping people get the right stuff.
Yeah, I really like the idea. In the conversation that we had before we started recording, I said like sometimes in other dealerships you just have the situation where you go in there and you want something and then you find salesperson talking you out of it, and then you buy something and don't feel super confident, again the confidence level, but you don't feel super confident that you just made the right decision, because obviously you want to support local and stuff. So I really like this kind of idea. It's also, I think, direct-to-consumer businesses are like on the rise. There's more and more people.
There is, there's more and more. There's some big brands out there that have gone direct to consumer. Following the whole Canyon sort of model, if you like, Canyon and YT, both German brands actually. Just they went direct to consumer. Cuts the cost out of the dealer, which is good. It makes the bikes cheaper, but there was no after sales, no support. They've kind of changed that now. They've got like big stores around, so that's not so bad. But you still have to go all the way there. So if you're in Scotland and you buy a Canyon, you're not going to come all the way down here. So having the sort of direct to consumer model is good for slightly lesser money on the bike, but there's a whole load of other problems. So, other bike shops, they don't like to deal with those brands. If you bring in a brand new bike and say, "Oh, I bought this bike and it's not set up properly," they were like, "Well, that's your fault." Some shops, not all shops. Some shops will take them in, but with me, I just fix whatever. So.
Yeah, exactly. I personally think there's a massive gap in the market that needs to be looked after, because a lot of people are like, especially people that don't really know much about bikes.
Yeah.
They buy a bike on price. They're like, okay, look, I see the components here. This is a good brand. I see the components here. I go for this one. It will be delivered to my home, right? But I just had the example, like this week, a friend of mine hi Mike, another Mike, got his direct-to-consumer bike, it's a gravel bike, and he's like, no what? Like, saddle was like slipping up and down, then tilted, and for these kind of people, it's just great if they have again the confidence to go to like a shop, like a consultant, like what you do now.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I got this bike, can you help me set it up? And I think there is like also a business to be made with this, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that will just soldier on with the purchase that they've made online, and just they're sitting 2 inches too low or whatever. And uncomfortable, where they spend good money on a bike, whether it's £1,000 or £5,000. It's all expensive money, and they need it set up properly. And if it's not set up properly, they're not going to enjoy their experience. And then they'll sell it in a year because they didn't like their bike, and they thought, I spent all this money and this bike's not doing what I wanted it to do. So there's people out there that like you say, aren't as knowledgeable. And kind of, that's what I'm here to sort of help out with, rather than say, well, unfortunately, you've bought that bike online, you need to go and see them, because, that's not the way.
Yeah, I think so either.
Although hopefully, this is not upselling what you do, it's a genuine thing, that the reason people may or may not buy that bike is they're just like, I don't know, this appears to be on offer, I think I can get it next week, that's great. But hopefully actually they get to you a stage before that and say, I am looking for a gravel bike.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the type of stuff I do. And you're like, actually, that's not gravel. You're going to do quite a bit on road. What do you think this would be like? That's the ideal.
Yeah.
For them and for you. It's not about... so they actually get the bike that they need in the first place.
And there's fashions, isn't there? Like, the gravel bike thing is big at the moment. It's the biggest movement in bikes at the moment. And, aside from e-bikes. And people, there's mountain bikers who, there's always been that conflict years and years ago where mountain bikers and roadies never got on, which is, it's funny, you're both on two wheels. But now that's not so much of a thing. Most people do a bit of everything. But the gravel bike kind of bridges that gap. So the mountain bikers who want a road bike but don't really want a full road bike, they'll buy a gravel bike. And the road bikers that don't want a mountain bike will buy a gravel bike, because it kind of gives them that freedom to do both. Plus the cyclocross bike is too racy for most. So the gravel bike gives them that option to go out in the winter and use it as a winter bike and as a off-road bike as well.
Yeah, I read somewhere that gravel biking actually also brings a lot of women on the bike. Because without, I don't want to say something wrong, but apparently what I've read is that women on road bikes alone on the road often leads to situations where a woman can really quickly feel uncomfortable. May it be of like annoying car drivers trying to harass them or whatever. So
it's more intimidating, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think gravel biking there, it gives you more of a safe space.
Yeah, you can get away from the roads, enjoy the countryside. I mean, especially here, we're in the Chilterns, so you've got everything on your doorstep, road and off-road. So, that gravel bike just gives them the freedom to do that, I think, and it's a bit nicer.
I remember it was quite weird, like, with graveling, how this all started. I remember back then when I got my first cyclocross bike, actually, at that time. I think then it started, like, I remember it was like 5 years ago, maybe. You had a cyclocross bike, and then all of a sudden there were like adventure bikes.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, adventure bikes.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we did then our first Grand Enduro in Scotland, and at that time was the first time I saw like cyclocross bikes. The bikes looked like cyclocross, but they had like wider tires. They were like monster
Monster cross.
cross bikes or something like that. And I took about like 4 or 5 years, I think, until it came to now the gravel bikes as we know them today. And I personally think they're here to stay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's definitely, they're here. And it's, I mean, for the people who've been mountain biking a long time, it reminds them how their mountain bike used to be back in the sort of late 80s and early 90s. And actually a few top races, John Tomac being one, he used to race with drops as well, on his mountain bike. So they've kind of come full circle. It's not really a new thing, but it's just a very honed in, genre of bike now.
my first mountain bike in 1994 was a Kona Lavadome.
Yeah, awesome.
In rust orange.
Yeah.
With like, at that time, only few people had like suspension forks. Most people.
Yeah.
Like,
cantilever brakes and stuff. Yeah.
If you're then, Mark, sorry to cut away from gravel bikes because
no problem.
no, it's
Oh, yeah,
fine.
it was
I
just
had
like
another
deviated.
point, but it made me think because it actually made me think when Neil said, "Oh, I had that photo," and you were like, "Yeah, I know that bike." So
Yeah.
you obviously know bikes and lots of bikes. How do you keep on top of what is available now and how, because you're providing a consultancy service
Yeah.
to people, like I kind of know my way around what's in the market, like I know my Specialized, I might say, oh, it's a Giant, I know my Cinelli, etc. But there, because you're saying, well, I could provide you with consultancy or whatever you may call it for any bike, you've got to be on top of it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, knowing the market is a big one in certainly in the sales side. I mean, things change so quick, right?
Yeah.
So everything changes, technology changes, but essentially, there's a few things in bikes that haven't changed. We haven't bettered a derailleur yet, not really. There's hub gears and stuff like that, and quite sophisticated ones, but we haven't really bettered the derailleur. Geometry is the biggest thing that's changed.
Yeah.
So you've really got to be on top of the geometry. But essentially, they're pretty similar. Tech has got quite substantially more acute in suspension and stuff like that. So you've got to be on top of that. But it's more like I said, when you've got a passion for it, you tend to read about everything. Something new comes out, you're like, oh, what's that? Read about it. You'll forget it, but it will come back round and you'll remember it again. And there is a lot to take in, and as I say, a constantly changing minefield, really. But so I don't claim to know everything about bikes. Every day's a learning game. You're learning all the time. But yeah, if you're into bikes generally, you'll naturally want to keep learning and keep learning.
It's quite funny, like that you say that. The other day I wanted to upgrade my pop bike, and I just found like I had like a derailleur lying around. So like, I need shiftless, so I went to eBay and just got myself shiftless, and like, what the fucking missed this? and like some of them, I couldn't even attach to my handlebars because you have to attach them
different mounts
straight to the brake. And like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think for you, you have to always be on top of the game, always learn. And I think this is another reason why you should go to support your local bike shop, because there is knowledge.
Yeah, hopefully that shop will be, they'll be up on top of stuff, and they'll know what they're talking about, and they can advise you, and that's what the local shop's there for. So good. You can look on the internet, obviously, but it never gives you you don't know if it's the correct answer. It will give you a few different answers, and forums help, but there's a lot of people on forums who think they know, and might actually give you the wrong thing. So it's always best to check.
By the way, just for our listeners, the pigeons are gone, but now it started raining. So this is rain.
Oh, it's the rain. I was going to say, big question, stock. Like we all know, we're all really acutely aware of a stock, I'm going to say issue. You might argue that at the
No,
moment
it's definitely
and
an
has
issue.
been.
Yeah.
What is happening and how do you like?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's stock at the moment. I mean, it's wholly COVID based because it everything closed. Factories closed and everything. So everything had a knock on effect. So production was delayed and stuff like that. So it was just a nightmare getting stuff. 3 months of closure for one Shimano factory was like a year behind in production. So and
also the ship.
Yeah, and the
What, it just had all bikes on it?
There was this.
Yeah, it was the Evergreen one or something, whatever it was.
Something, I can't remember.
The one in the canal, the Suez Canal, and that was a nightmare as well. So that was like an add-on. So everything got delayed, loads and loads, and people waiting for bikes way longer than they should have been. And by that time, certain group sets are out of date and they should have been changed, but they hadn't, and things. So it's caused a big issue in the bike industry, but not only our industry. The car industry got affected. Microchips, ridiculous. No, exactly. But it affected everyone in a big way, and work went dead for a while because you couldn't get anything. You need a new rear derailleur, sir, but you're gonna have to wait 8 months for it, and well, that's my year gone.
Exactly.
So it was a nightmare. Definitely.
Is it better? Has it improved?
A little bit. It's got a little bit better. There's still things that are hard to get hold of, but it is improving. But then obviously the cost of everything's gone up.
That was my next.
Shipping went up loads because it was a supply and demand thing. So shipping went through the roof, and obviously the shipping costs for that. That amount of bikes or whatever the shipping costs had to be divided by those bikes. So the bikes went up, and it's sort of never ending. Everything's gone up really. So it's impacted it quite heavily. You could buy a bike in January and it would be say 1,500 quid, and then come towards the end of the season where normally that bike would get replaced, but because there wasn't any, they were just rolling them over because they made more. But that bike then went up to say 1,800, but it was the same bike. So, it was a nightmare. People were like, well, it's 300 quid more than what it was before, but it's the same. Because the shipping costs have gone up and production costs have gone up and everything, and even raw materials. It's insane.
What I always think is good as an indication to see if it's a good time to buy a bike is a specialized Alley index.
Yeah.
If you go to eBay,
yeah.
You 4 or 5 years ago, you could always usually get a specialized Alley
349
for something around
exactly that number. Yeah.
So, and now you get the same bike from the same years.
Yeah.
Also secondhand, either same price or even more. More expensive.
349 is a bit of a bargain actually, but you could have.
There was stuff like that.
I bought a specialized Alley for 220. Back then, there was a specialized Alley index was really low.
Right, yeah.
It was a good time for consumers.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But
good bike.
We spoke about your past, now the future, your present. I want to talk about your clients and customers.
Yeah.
Because some of our listeners might know, but I also was once working a little bit in the bike trade industry. Well, it was Decathlon. Decathlon back in Germany. I was selling bikes. I applied for a job in the hiking part, but then it's we need somebody that cycles. It's okay, can you sell bikes? I said, I have no fucking clue. Okay, you sell bikes. Then also I was a mechanic also then at some point. Anyways, and I remember my the best situation with a customer, because as far as I know, everybody in the bike trade has this. There's a customer coming along and saying can you fix this bike? It just fell apart. I was just riding along.
Yeah, the JRA. That's that's.
What does that?
It's just riding along.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
I was just riding and this happened.
Yeah, my best situation was there was this father coming in, taking a bike back that the son bought 2 weeks ago or something like this. And he was talking to our mechanic. He's like, it's completely broken. He was just riding along. Nothing. I don't know what. In the meantime, I was chatting to the son, and the son was like, "Oh, I jumped off the garage."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. there's always a good way to get to the truth.
What was the most funny thing in your without mentioning any name, but I would just like to know, what was where you were what's going on here?
We had we did have one that comes to mind where a guy came in and basically said that his handlebars had failed.
Did actually happen to me.
The wrong way around.
So he said that they'd failed and they'd broken. And I was like, right, where's the other bit to it? And he said, well, I don't know. And I was looking at his bike and I was like, I clearly knew that they hadn't failed. And basically what he'd done, it'd been on the back of the car and it had fallen off the car, but dragged like down the motorway. And it had ground down the handlebars almost to the stem. So it was missing like one side of his shifters and brakes and everything else. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, how can they just fail? And because generally the customer's always right is what the rule is, right? So I'm looking at them and I'm like, so how did they fail? And he said, I was just riding along. Yeah. And yeah, they just snapped. And I was like, but this, did you like file it down to make it smooth and stuff? And it was like, no, okay, my wife dragged it along the motorway in on the car. It fell off. She didn't put it on properly. Okay. I was like, no problem. I'll fix that for you. No problem at all. So he didn't want to admit it, but that's what happened. Yeah. But I don't know whether it was his wife. I think he just said that to blame his wife.
It's never
exactly.
This is like an unspoken rule, like for a cyclist, never admit defeat, never admit failure. It's the wife. I always
yeah. So yeah, he ended up paying for it, and that's what it was. But yeah, I don't know whether we actually saw him again. I think he was quite embarrassed. So.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a shame, like because like in so many aspects of life, like don't be a dick, go in there, be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
There will be a solution, but don't.
If they'd told me, I'd have gone, no problem, we can sort that out, without the sort of story of like, oh, how do I work around, how did this actually happen,
What do you do about the ones, and I'm sure there must be, that just come in covered in mud?
Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
Absolutely covered, and they're like,
all the bikes.
Mainly both, like, can you service my bike, mate? And you're like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm looking at this place, and I said to Mark before I came out, I'm like, Mark, this is like pristine. I'm so impressed.
Well, also, I'm in a gym as well, right? So I'm in with another business,
this is what
which is even worse.
Someone wheels their bike up, and they've just literally come off a ride. They're like, oh, well, I rode here.
Yeah.
And you look at it, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and
generally,
like, have you ever cleaned this bike?
Well, that's it. Some of them come through and they're absolutely caked. I mean, luckily I haven't had any here because most of the stuff here people are calling before they bring them in. But yeah, in the other shops and stuff where they just bring them in caked, and I'm like, how do you want me to work? I mean, I can clean it, but it's going to cost a lot of my time. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. I can't bother to do it. So you do it. So there's that customer, and then there's a customer who's like, well, if you clean it, how much is it going to cost? And you tell them, and they're like, I'm not paying that. Can you just sort it out? And I'm like, but I have to clean it to sort it out. Yeah, exactly. You just can't see anything, So, but those are the people that, I mean, they really need you, but they just don't expect to pay for your service. And that's a weird one.
This is amazing. Just to take it back, like we were speaking about, like derailleurs and stuff, like that is still the same kind of stuff. This is always that's something that I thought is so bizarre. Like the most technical bit of the bike, almost the most important bit, just dangles in the dust.
Yeah.
Like, why haven't they not come up with like some really good hub derailleurs or stuff?
They're trying. They're definitely trying with like the pinion centrally mounted gear system and stuff like that. And they tried it a while ago with the roll-off system. Yeah. It just doesn't change like a derailleur does. A derailleur always feels better. Yeah. Pick up and everything else. Pinion's quite close. But it's and all the weight's concentrated in the middle of the bike, so it's quite it's quite centralised. So that's good. So they are getting better, and obviously longevity with belt drive and stuff like that, because you haven't got all that cassette to worry about and things. So it'll get there. Just how long it takes. Yeah, I mean there's a classified. I don't know if you had a classified. They've brought out a decent wheel set which actually makes road bikes one by. So you don't have to have the two rings. It's a rear hub with a cassette and a derailleur, but inside that hub is your other gear, which shifts essentially your front. Oh. So if you've got a 50-tooth chainring as your one by gear, and then you've got your 12 or 11 speed rear, that internal gear gives you your 34.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool, and that's a big advancement. Hopefully, working its way onto mountain bikes. They're working on that, but it's doing road and gravel at the moment, which works pretty well because you can't really get away with a 1x on a proper road bike. You either lose your hill climb gears or your speedy gears.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So yeah.
One more thing, just in line with that, on your Instagram account.
Yep.
It's mesmerizing when you put on videos how you're taking the muck off a derailleur.
Yeah, it's one of those sad things which is quite satisfying doing it. But when you see how caked in it was, and then cleaning it off, it's pretty satisfying doing that.
Are you on TikTok?
No, not on TikTok.
Honestly, I think this would go way well on TikTok.
I should probably do TikTok. It's one of those age things, I think. Yeah. Being the wrong side of 40, you think TikTok's probably kiddish, but it's blowing up, isn't it? It's massive.
Although the only thing that I heard the other day is there's a lot of foot fetishes on there.
Oh, right,
you might
could probably get away with that.
No, honestly, seriously, I think you have to clean the jockey wheels with your toes then.
That could be a problem.
On mine, I will admit once, when I turboed in my bedroom for a while, my jockey wheel got full of hair. Absolutely full.
Of hair?
Because I must have brushed it next to the bike or something, which is really... No, but because it was irrelevant that I was turbo. My bike was in the room for whatever reason, and that must be... I had so little space that when I was brushing my hair, and I've never seen anything like it at all. And I've checked my bike now. That's not in my bedroom, and it's none. So it must have been once brushing it.
It's probably the most common thing that gets jammed up in jockey wheels. Yeah, I mean, for people who don't turbo in their bedroom, when they bring them in and you're cleaning out the jockey wheels, you're like, where's all this hair come from? And you look at them and they've been bald for quite a few years, but there's still loads of hair in there. So you're like, where does it come from?
Do people actually bring, just because you're talking about turbos, but do people bring turbo trainers in to get them, because the direct drive?
I had mine.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I mean it's not that common, to be honest. But yeah, we can fix all that sort of stuff as well, because they do go every now and then. There's still a system that works. So
100% mine went. I just turboed so much, I broke it.
Yeah.
I broke everything. It exploded inside.
But of course you break everything.
It just exploded inside. I was like, it was similar to a JRA. I was like, I was
turboing along.
And it just
JTA, it's a new
blew
one.
up.
Crazy.
It just stopped working. So who and what kind of are not your main customers, but the split of work? So advising people on bikes, we've spoken about that. People are coming in to have their bikes serviced, repaired.
Yeah,
What's kind of the setup and what you love to do and what you want to do, and kind of the people that may come to that kind of thing?
I mean, working with bikes in general is what I love to do, but I think the main bulk of probably what I do and what I will do is your normal day-to-day servicing. So annual services, full strip downs, that kind of stuff, just gear tunes, brake tunes, that kind of stuff. What I love to do is probably my most favourite thing to do is custom builds. So I love creating a bike from scratch, even from the frame upwards, getting the frame custom made, that kind of stuff, creating someone's dream bike for them, and then seeing their reaction when they get that bike, because in their head they've got a list of parts that they want and stuff like that, and obviously to a budget. So creating that and then going through the colour schemes and everything else, and then when they see that bike at the end, that's what makes it really good. That and wheel building. Wheel building's also
what
awesome.
about that?
Yeah, wheel building's
like wheels.
It's
building a wheel.
Yeah, it's like for me, it's therapeutic. So it's one of those things where some people like to chill out in a spa.
But we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right?
No, you don't have to reinvent it.
Oh my gosh, you said it. You said that.
But yeah, me just chilling there in an evening, just building wheels. That's it's just relaxing.
I'm talking like I don't know, because I clearly don't. What's the advantage? Why? I mean, wheels have got to be built somewhere, but I just assume
you've got factory wheels. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got the big names, that do complete wheels that you just buy as they are, and they're very good. But with a custom built wheel, you can tune them to the rider for what they want out of the wheel. So, a heavier rider will require stronger spokes, stiffer wheel, that kind of stuff. Someone who accelerates really hard, strength and weight is really good and all that. So,
do you mean like heavier rider? Or
no.
Yeah, which one?
Hard accelerates.
So yeah, you can tune the wheel to how they want to ride for the purpose of the riding as well. Plus, you can take the best bits of certain parts. So hubs, you can have a really quick pickup hub, or if they don't like the classic clicky noises, you can get silent hubs. From people like Onyx and stuff like that, they do a silent hub, so it doesn't make a noise at all when you drive, but it's almost instant. So, and also weight. So if people want a lighter wheel set, then you can tune that as well. Deep dish rim, hill climb rim, that kind of stuff. So
does a hub have to make noise?
Doesn't have to. No, like I say, the silent one. Yeah. So generally noise is resistance.
Yeah.
So the louder the hub, generally the more resistance that you get, which is obviously less efficiency. In some cases it's not. But if you think, a lot of road cyclists have gone with let's take DT for instance, DT Swiss, an 18 tooth pickup hub, because that's what the hub comes with. But the acceleration out of that hub isn't going to be as good as if they had more pickup points. So, you can upgrade that star ratchet in the hub to a 36 or a 54 tooth, which will give you more drive, but slightly less longevity, because the finer the teeth, the more power that's going through them, they're going to wear quicker. So there's a compromise. If you've got a really heavy rider, you wouldn't put them on really fine tooth pickup.
This is what I mean. I
don't know any heavy rider.
I was going to say, this is what I mean about the way Mark is. Both of us then were like, wow.
there's a lot, isn't there, in bikes?
And you could see Neil thinking,
stuff.
What hub do I need? And I was like, ooh, pickup. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's the way, just the way, like, it's, I know it sounds really cheesy, but the way you explain it, but we were both in awe, like, ooh. And that's what you want. You want to be inspirational, but not just saying, well, if you got a 54 and you got this, and I'd just be like, what? Oh, just get me whatever I think. I'm taking it in. I understand what you're saying. I may then come back to you and say, okay, so what does that mean for me? It's a way.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll go and do some research and go, oh, actually, yeah, I understand that now, and see what benefits it can give you, over a standard hub and so on. And then you might think, well, actually, my next wheel set might be a hand-built wheel set.
And you do it with wheels, you do it with frames, you do it with it. Yeah, it's just a way. It sounds like I'm going to say like blowing smoke up your ass. And it sounds like
blow away.
You just experienced it then when Niels and I couldn't take our eyes and ears off you because we were interested about what you had to say.
I never can take my eyes on you anyways.
Well, I know that. That's why I keep kind of turning a little bit towards Gemma, because I'm getting a bit flustered.
But thank you. It's just, it's really it's interesting.
It's part of wheel building. Nipples, we use nipples in wheel building. It's fine.
I've lost my train of thought, so.
I'm really sorry. Anyhow. I see like a lot of designs of your. First of all, I love the logo. I love the color scheme.
Thank you.
It's really, really good. I see like pictures of next to the Spencer Wilson print. Hi Spencer. Pictures of the jersey. Is this something that people can buy you, or
I've just got them done. I probably will end up putting together a little team. I mean, that's the short sleeve jersey there. We've got a long sleeve coming as well, but the short sleeve one, again, I don't make money out of them. It's just a bit of promotion for me, supporting some riders and stuff. So we've got a few riders that we're hoping to support. It's a nice little design that sort of goes out, and people hopefully notice that more than your general clothing that's out there on the race circuit and stuff. So
it looks absolutely fantastic.
I like it. I saw it and I was like, ooh, I think quite a photo.
There'll be some.
Sorry, I need to say that.
There'll be some gravelly and road ones soon. But
I was also going to say, I always have a concern with white, but I thought pretty much my entire veloccino skin suit is white.
That's
So
right. Yeah, white, red, and black.
I think you always have to. I think if you have a white kit, you always have to provide your riders with like a year's supply of Vanish or something as well, so they can then keep that kit looking like super white.
Talking about that, like kit and stuff. Have you watched the documentary on GCN about Josh?
Yes, I saw it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You see like the veloccino jacket? In the beginning.
Yeah, he done a bit of a.
Yeah.
It was there. The whole. She just kept on wearing it.
Yeah, I
for
told
all
her like
the
if you need
shots.
5 more jackets, like just let me know. What
Josh, no, nothing.
Yeah. Well, Josh can have one, but he's now in this development team of some.
Oh, Sampara, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was a fantastic. If you haven't watched it,
It's really good.
go to GCN, pay the money and pay and watch and watch, and it's really good. I think Josh is a fantastic person. We should get him on the show as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, if you've not had him on, definitely get him on.
Yeah.
I think you should get the untold story Meatball on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asking her like, okay, so how did
What actually happened? Like, did you have to pick Josh up in the middle of the night? Because he said he'd be home by 5, and actually he had 6 hours in.
Well, just imagine. That's pretty cool. Okay, well, the untold story soon. But
Yeah, local talent as well.
Yeah.
Another local talent.
Really, really good, isn't it? Yeah, I think that was a fantastic talk. I run almost out of things to ask, but the problem is also when you know someone very well, it's always difficult to come up with questions that people might think you should ask because people might be interested in that because so many things you know already, so you might not even know how to ask them because you know that. You know what I mean?
I know. Do you know?
Do you know? Doesn't matter. However,
Are you saying you've run out of questions? I've got some. I'm just waiting for you to finish.
Bam, 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 go.
No, one, and I'll think as I go along. I always have the boring questions. Neil comes and goes, my one was like, okay, so you're here in Chesham, you've got the shop. How does it work? Like, how are people going to come to you, book in with you, get their bikes done? Because if I was someone, a listener, I always sound really cheesy, but I'm so genuine. I mean it genuine. I'd be like, I want to come to Mark.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I hope
Or maybe not,
that
but
happens.
if they
It'd be
did want
nice.
to come to you.
But yeah, I mean,
How's it gonna
I'm on social media. All my contact details are on there as well. Basically, just give me a call, WhatsApp, or an email. Yeah, I mean, even if it's just a query, and you're far away or whatever, you can't get in, but you need to know an answer. I can answer a question. It's all free, so it's not a problem.
It's basically in the
free
name
advice.
Cychemistry. No.
What?
Chemistry with a CY at the beginning.
So for cycles.
Exactly.
So psych and chemistry. Yeah.
And if you are in Chesham, or if you know Chesham, you will definitely know the big orange supermarket with a big car park right in front. This is exactly where Mark is.
I sit right opposite their entrance. So yeah.
Super simple. Come here, have a coffee. Mark is a coffee machine.
Yeah, good coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good coffee.
Say hello.
Do a gym workout.
Do a gym workout.
Yeah, exactly.
In front.
While he's fixing your bike.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or whatever. If you are just a long-time listener to the podcast and want to know where we hang out, come around and meet us maybe. So say hello. And so we find you on Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram I'm on. There will be a website soon. I left the website till last just because social media is how you get around. Exactly.
And
So,
TikTok soon.
Yeah. I guess it'll be TikTok soon. Yeah, I'll get my kids to help me with that one. And I'm on Google as well. So
And if you leave a good review when you were here. And if all of this doesn't work for whatever reason, send an email to podcast@veloccino.com and we will get you in touch.
Perfect.
Mark. And I think, is there anything else we need to talk about?
No, I said I had loads of questions. It was just the one. But,
Have you introduced Milo?
well, no, and I don't know whether has he been in shot at all. Probably 1,000 times.
He might have been.
There's like a little dog on the floor.
It doesn't replace Benny, the Veloccino, the original Veloccino dog. Although I've heard word that Benny's being a bit of a monkey at the moment.
Yeah, he's a bit annoying, but we will.
But they'll work around it.
we
So
work through
just for the meantime, we bought Milo. I think he might have been a bit of a distraction, but we tried our best. Hopefully he's just off camera.
No, he's super cute. Maybe next time we will bring him in. So then we come to an end. What's did I just say? Go out on your bike, ride your bike because the best stories have not yet been written. Or how do we say it?
We say because the best stories have not yet been written.
Yes, do-do. Wait. First of all, thank you so much for tuning into our previous episode. It really means a big deal to us, and I hope that you have enjoyed what you've seen. This leads me to number 2. If you would like to support the channel, please hit the subscribe button, click like, or comment down below. Why? Because this will feed the algorithm, so other viewers will find us easier in the future. And for you, if you don't have enough of us already, why don't you click on this side or on this side to watch some more of our other episodes. Thank you so much from everybody at Veloccino, and see you next time. Go out, ride your bike.